it's Gullah Geechee Heritage Month, so I figured I would clarify a little bit just in case it ever came across as confusing for you. So Gullah Geechee are African Americans, but there are some things that distinguish it as well. So just like other descendants of enslaved people, our ancestors were brought over from Western Central Africa for their knowledge, their skills, and their abilities. Also, they spoke various African tongues, but they were forced to speak English, so they blended their pieces of their African tongue with English and created a whole nother language, which is called a Creole language. Now, like I said, pretty much all African American communities, descendants of enslaved people, did that. But what distinguishes the Gullah Geechee, however, number one is geography. So, if you have ancestral roots in the area that extends from about southeastern North Carolina down to northeastern Florida, you're probably Gullah Geechee for sure. Some other distinctions is like social norms and politics. So, because of that location, that impacted the food you eat. So it's a lot of seafood. It also impacted the clothes you wear. It impacted the ways of life and how you spent your time. You probably did a lot of fishing and spent a lot of time with the waterways if you lived in this particular area, if you live near the water. Now, also, because of this area that we lived in, it affected some social norms, right? So, particularly if we think about like back in the day, it's hot over here. It's hot. The insects is wild. The mosquitoes and sand gnats is wild. And a lot of areas, especially if you think about the sea islands, they did not have bridges until like the 1960s, and some of them still ain't got it. So, all of that said, most white folks did not choose, even back in the days of enslavement, they didn't live here. They lived a minimum of 20 miles away, and stayed gone until like the 1960s. So because of that, and it wasn't hardly no white people being present, there was no need to assimilate, and so that allowed them to keep their African heritage intact for much longer than most other African American communities in this country. I ain't say all, I said most. So that's what make the Gullah Geechee who they are. So in those African heritage I said that was able to remain intact, that's like the food, yeah, that's like the language, that's like some of the art practices, the traditional practices, the spiritual beliefs. But again, we all cousins. I say it all the time. And so you will see similarities throughout the African diaspora. Ring shouting is a Gullah Geechee thing. But you go to Louisiana, particularly with the Easter Rock from Winsboro, you will see them doing a very, 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 very similar spiritual ritual. Red rice, that's a Gullah Geechee thing. You go to Louisiana, you're going to see jambalaya. Both of them are offshoots of jollof rice. So, again, we all cousins. But hopefully that clears some things up for you in terms of what Gullah Geechee is. And another thing, too, the terms are interchangeable. So you can say Gullah, you can say Geechee, you can say Gullah Geechee, you can say Geechee Gullah. It's all the same thing.